Well, countless number of times we've stood in front of the abortion clinic and proclaimed for all to hear, the thief comes to steal, and comes to kill, and he comes to destroy. Christ has come to give. Anybody? Wake up, smell the coffee. He's come to give life, but what kind of life? Life in the fullest, abundance, overflowing, that in Jesus Christ alone you can live. Anybody here alive? Just a bunch of dead Baptists? I mean, good night. Does the Spirit of God not dwell within you? We can have life to the utter full. I go charismatic this morning. Exodus chapter 20, as we go through the Ten Commandments, might have been too bold a start for such a command. But here it is. It's short. You can memorize this one. Exodus 20 and verse 13. You shall not murder. All right, and we'll make a distinction about the word murder versus the word kill in a moment. By the way, we're preaching through the Ten Commandments, and the commandment doesn't match my attitude today, so I'm kind of a little bit off here because I like Thanksgiving a whole lot. It's one of mine and my wife's favorite times of the year, and so we're just happy. We like Thanksgiving, and so, but thou shalt not murder is not the happiest thing to reflect upon. So I'm really, really happy and preaching a message that may not be so happy. All right, so we live right in a civilized country. Yes or no? Yeah, it's kind of up in the air this morning. However, after we look at this command, America may not qualify as civil anymore. Our days, it's sad. I mean, you know the news as well as I do, but our news is filled with what? Violence and murder has become as common as adultery or divorce or something. I mean, it's just like murdering people is just like an everyday affair. Here's the sadness of it. Think about it. Murders are reported and you don't even react. You know, that's not necessarily a chastisement, but it is somewhat of a rebuke for me and for you. These three people were murdered. Oh, good. And what did Garfunkel say? You know, we don't. It doesn't even affect us. I don't know who Garfunkel is, okay? I have no idea. I'm saying it doesn't have any effect upon us. What is wrong with me? The regard for human life just degenerates and continues to do so. You know, what do they call it? Philadelphia, the city of love, coming from the Greek word there. There's a shooting almost every single day in Philadelphia. I don't know if you knew that, but almost every day somebody's shot and killed in Philadelphia. It doesn't even make the news. Hundreds of people die there on a regular basis. School shootings, we can't even keep up with the number, or lockdowns and all of that. Another one even this week, and on the list goes. Church shootings. And by the way, that's not new under the sun. My wife reminded me in the 80s where we grew up, town just south of me, Pittsburgh, Texas. There was a church shooting there back in the 80s. How many? 7? Dangerfield, Pittsburgh, it's all the same. A bunch of riffraff over there. But church shootings there, bombs, road rage killings, robberies that kill, cars plowing into crowds, suicides. A mother this week in New York drowned her 10-day-old son in the bathtub intentionally. It's just, I mean, you could go on forever. Violence in the media is beyond comprehension. These are some stats. They're probably not accurate, but the best I have. The American Psychological Association says that by the time the average child finishes elementary school, they will have watched 8,000 televised murders and 100,000 acts of on-screen violence. Astounding. You add to that video games, which are just pagan stuff, video games, phone games. It produces the ability to make violence even grow more gruesome and even to make murder, get it, seem funny. And we've become to the point we're able to laugh at murder on TV screens and video games. People actually laughing at shows that religiously break the 6th commandment. God says, don't do this, and here's the church scene laughing as it's portrayed before our eyes. According to one group, out of 1,000 studies, more than 980 of those studies established a definite link between on-screen violence and violence in real life. According to the best available evidence, media violence has doubled America's homicide rate. Desensitization to the Sixth Commandment is being lived out before our very eyes. As I think of the nurse at the abortion clinic who claims to be a Christian and goes to church all the time. She doesn't even see the problem of the place that she works. On another occasion, I was in Mexico City, and it's still etched in my mind. And when I saw it, I thought, how terrible is this? But we got up Sunday morning to go to church in Mexico City, and we're driving along, and I see a crowd up to the right, and I thought, all of a sudden, something doesn't feel right. Something's very wrong here. And I asked Jonathan, what's going on? He said, somebody's probably killed. And we go up there, and a guy on a bicycle has been run over. He's laying there. He didn't even cover the body. He didn't cover the body. I said, they didn't even cover the body. He goes, nobody cares. He just walked by. He's just laying there uncovered. I'm like, is there no value? It's like a dog laying in the street. It was just, to me, it was just shocking that at least we could do is show respect for the dead and cover the body. But then, not necessarily just to focus on myself, but just the other day, I'm run off the road on my bicycle. 2 cars run me off the road, leave me in the ditch, my knees bleeding, and they both just drive off. And I thought, America's no different than Mexico. If I would have been dead, how long would I have laid in the ditch 3 weeks ago before anybody stopped to scrape up my body and give me a proper burial? There's no value for human life, it seems, in this country that we live in. What does all this lead to? It's not a shocker. It doesn't take long to trace this out. But when human life gets to the point that it has no value, abortion just becomes common. It's just what we do. Infanticide, euthanasia, assisted suicide, and on the list goes. Because let's just make it easier and kill them off where they won't be a problem any longer. This commandment covers far more than the physical death of someone. It will investigate into other areas. This commandment, if you were to ask it of people in general, this would be the one they said they've kept. I've never killed anybody. Perhaps you've even said that. And so, out of all the commandments, surely I've held up number 6. And so let us look at this command today and see if we have or if we haven't. Let me pause here and remind you of something that's going on in case you missed it on the way. The whole point of these 10 commandments, it's like every week you come and you hear this new commandment and you're like, dude, I blew it again. That was the point. You blow every one of these. That's the issue here, is we are lawbreakers. You say, look, I don't want to come to church and hear I'm a lawbreaker. I don't want some oppressive message. To know that you're a lawbreaker and that you have failed is really good news. You say, how in the world is that good news? Because you can see you have a need for someone else. If you find this morning that in your heart you're a murderer, at the end, I'll tell you, I know a substitute for murderers. Right? That's to point us to our need for a Savior. All right, the implications of the word murder. You shall not murder, differently than the King James, which says, thou shalt not kill. So as we look at this Hebrew word, for just a moment, I want to let you in on this. You may not be aware. There are at least 8 different Hebrew words for kill, murder, slay. So there's several options. This particular word is never used in the system